Well, hello, all you lovely people on YouTube. Thank you, as always, for your subscriptions, your thumbs ups, your comments, your likes. I really appreciate every one of you. I've mentioned it before that my aim is to grow this YouTube channel in 2023, to expand it even more by doing a lot more video. So I always appreciate your support in doing that, and I hope you enjoy the videos and the information I give you back. Today, I'm going to talk to you about Mars stationing direct. I am going to share some charts and look a little bit further ahead, and then I'm going to go through all signs and tell you where this station direct is impacting you. But more than that, I'm going to show you two areas of your chart that are probably going to be really impacted by this energy. Of course, some of this will have been the area of the chart where Mars has been retrograde since October the 30th. But there's a reason why this discordant energy is not done yet, and I will dive into that. So let's have a look at some charts first of all, and then I'm just going to talk to you about it, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to look at all signs. So Mars stations direct at 8 degrees 7 minutes of Gemini tomorrow, January the 12th. I'm recording this on the 11th, but I'm premiering this on the 12th at 3:56 p.m. Eastern time. And so anybody, if you have any planets or placements, angles around 8 degrees of the chart, you're going to be impacted by this. That would be me, so much around 7 degrees particularly, but close, because it's only just at 8 degrees. And so this is a big station. You know, Mars went retrograde at 25 degrees Gemini back on October the 30th. And you may have noticed some areas of real chaos in your life since that point. For me, this has been retrograde in the area of health and pets, my 6th house. And I have a 6th house moon. On the day Mars crossed my moon, I got flu. I've also had daughter health problems that I've had to deal with, and dog problem that I've had to deal with, and it's been quite chaotic. I've never spent as much time in talking to doctors, in ERs, in clinics, things like that, in vets. So you get the idea. And so the themes are not going to go away just yet, but let's look at the Mars station itself. So Mars is stationing at 8 degrees. 8 is actually a real number of strength in numerology. If you think about it, it's two equal bits. If you turn it on its side, it's infinity. So number 8 really is about inner strength, inner wisdom. And I think this is a good sign for this Mars stationing direct particularly. But I do have to mention that Mars is stationing direct while it's out of bounds. Mars has been out of bounds. That means it's right off the ecliptic for quite some time. In fact, when did Mars go out of bounds? I cannot actually remember that date. I should have looked it up. I apologize. But Mars went out of bounds on October the 22nd, before the retrograde. So Mars has not only been retrograde in Gemini, the first retrograde in Gemini, fully in Gemini, since 1943 into 1944. I did a video with Mandy Ray of Eccentric Astrology talking about that. We talked about some of the things that might come up. But it's also out of bounds. So it's been crazy. As well as that, we've had Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, where Mars is retrograde. So I'll be looking at that a little bit as well. So that's the first thing. It's been extra chaotic. Oh no, wherever in your chart it's been showing up, it's probably been chaos. It feels like very juggly. There's been issues with siblings. If we look at it collectively, this is in Gemini. This can be sibling rivalry. We see it with Prince Harry and Prince William. No comment on that, not taking a side, but there's the sibling thing. We see it with vehicles. We see it with all kinds of communication. We've seen it in the Congress in the US with the speaker vote that took 4 days. That was complete chaos. Things just seem to be very kind of shaky at the moment. Now, not only that, right before Mars stations direct, Eris just stationed direct as well, his sister in Mars ruled Aries. So there's more discord and chaos adding to it. And Mercury ruling Gemini is still retrograde in Capricorn. So this is just been a really crazy Mars retrograde. And yes, Mars is stationing direct, but I don't want you to suddenly think that everything's going to straighten out. And there's a few reasons. The first one is that Mercury is still retrograde. So in 6 days, 6 days after Mars stations direct, Mercury stations direct in Capricorn. But look at this. Mars is in a quincunx to Mercury on their station, because Mars will stay at 8 degrees for about 12 days after his station direct. He's going to be at that 8-degree mark. Mercury moves faster, but look at this. Mars stationed direct at 8 degrees 7 minutes of Mercury ruled Gemini. Mercury stations direct at 8 degrees and 8 minutes of Capricorn. And these two are in one of the most awkward aspects there is. It's called a quincunx. There's total adjustments to be made. The two don't speak to each other. So there's a lot of awkwardness in this aspect as well over the next week as these two station direct, as they have to adjust thinking, adjust ideas, adjust where we're going. And Mars is still out of bounds at this point as well. Still going further out of bounds actually than he has been. He's not at his maximum out of bounds yet, so don't expect everything to get all hunky-dory right away if you're experiencing some chaos in your life. So just to go back to the Mars station one more time, and I wanted to point one other thing out to you. Mars is stationing direct in a quincunx to Hygenia and Pholus, and we're seeing the chaos with COVID in China. Interestingly, Gemini has a lot to do with cars as well, and we're seeing these satellite images of all the cars at the crematoriums and so on in China from satellite images. We're also getting a lot of traffic problems with Mars in Gemini, as well as communication problems. We're also getting a lot of tech glitches. These stations with Mars and Mercury adding Eris into the mix are really chaotic, to be honest. And also Uranus is stationing direct on the 22nd, just to add a little bit more chaos into it. But back to this aspect when Mars stations direct. It's also in a quincunx to Pholus. And Pholus expression, he's a centaur. Pholus takes the lid off things. And all this is in the structures of our lives, the structures of society, the man-made laws, but the structures of our personal lives as well, our bank accounts, our homes, our everything. There's a lot of shaking up going on in all of these. Okay, so you might find little breakdowns happening in your house, things just not going to plan. Everything just feels like balls are juggled in the air and things are not really happening as they should. It's like nothing is straightforward. Now, after the 22nd, when Uranus stations direct, if you looked at my 2023 preview, we do have a period of time, 89 days, where all planets are stationing or are moving direct. But everybody's like, yay, forward movement. But Mars is still out of bounds. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to move forward weeks. Okay, just quickly. Mars, keep an eye on Mars. Mars is over here. So Mars starts at 24-27 outer bounds when he stations direct. By here, he's 24 degrees 34 north of the ecliptic, so more outer bounds. By February the 2nd, he's at 24-42. By February the 9th, he's at 24-53. By February the 16th, he's at 25 degrees 5. 25 degrees 16 on February the 23rd, 25 degrees 25 north on March the 2nd, 25 degrees 32 on March the 9th, 25 degrees 36 on March the 16th, and then he starts to go back in bounds. Okay, by March 23rd, he's starting to move back towards the ecliptic. Out of bounds planets act eccentrically. So this Mars retrograde has been extra because of Mars being out of bounds. And as Mars retraces the degrees he was retrograde at, he is still way out of bounds. And Mars doesn't start to approach the ecliptic again and start to move back in bounds until after he's retraced the degrees of his retrograde. So what I'm basically saying is that wherever in your life you've experienced some retrograde-ish issues with Mars, for instance, my health problems, my getting flu, it's also opposed my Sagittarius planets, and I've felt a lot of arrows coming at me, particularly online. Nothing to worry about. I block them, but you know, it's been there, been real, been noticeable increase. You may get more of this as Mars retraces his degrees and moves past what's called the shadow period. Don't really call it a shadow period, but the outer bounds is adding to that retrogradish, eccentric feel. Things are not settled. Balls are not going to settle on the ground until Mars moves back in bounds. Now, Mars does not move back in bounds until it's May the 4th or 5th, depending on where you are in the world. Okay, so let me have a look. So he's not quite in bounds there, but by the next day, by May the 5th, he is back in bounds. So if I go back hours, just to get you an approximate, well, in fact, I could give you the exact time. Let's give you the exact time. Mars is going to move back in bounds on May the 4th at 11:52 p.m. Eastern. So right at the end of the day on the East Coast in the US, Mars finally moves back in bounds. And as we wake up on May the 5th, things will start to feel more kind of normal again. But by that point, Mars has left Gemini and moved almost all the way through Cancer. Okay, so he will be, it's a long time that we are getting Mars acting out of character. So I am going to talk to you about the areas of your life where Mars is affecting you. I'm also going to look at the area of life where Mercury stations direct because of that aspect between the two and the fact Mercury rules Gemini, where Mars is. So I'm going to dive into all signs in a minute. But first of all, I want to talk to you about a sponsor. I've been lucky enough to be approached by a wonderful company who wanted to sponsor my podcast. And so what I'm talking to you about today is for Sigmatic. if you haven't heard of Sigmatic, Sigmatic is a brand that makes coffee and a few other purposes. They make coffee, protein, cacao drink, elixirs that you can add into hot water to make a functional tea. Elixirs, am I saying that right? Super powders to make a cold beverage, and blends as well that you can add into coffee, tea, smoothies, or soups. Now, what's magical about Sigmatic is that they contain mushrooms. Now, I used to work for a health food store, okay, and I learned about the magic of medicinal, if you like, mushrooms at that point. And mushrooms are amazing things. They share a lot of DNA with humans. They are very healing. Two of the most well-known ones are lion's mane, which is great for memory, and chaga, which is great for focus. And so far, I've been testing out the coffee. I've got some drinking it now in one of my astrology mugs. And I can tell you, this coffee is different to regular coffee. Whereas with coffee, I love coffee. And my morning coffee helps me wake up and focus. But then if I have a bit too much, I get very jittery. I've noticed a real difference. Before this sponsorship event, I started drinking this coffee because I'm like, I'm not going to talk about this unless I've tested it. And I noticed my level of focus and attention is increasing, which is wonderful for me because I'm convinced I have ADHD. So this coffee, as Sigmatic, wakes your mind up, okay? It's not just regular, it enhances focus, boosts your mood, and even supports your immune system. Sigmatic coffee is mixed with functional mushrooms like lion's mane and chaga. These superfoods are some of the most studied wellness supporting supplements on the planet and now easily mixed into your daily favorites. Guaranteed delicious and loved by thousands, over 1 million cups served, 100,000 monthly subscribers getting coffee delivered to their door, and over 30,000 5-star reviews. And it's risk-free to try. And with my link, you actually get 30% off. So the code is cosmic, but the link will be in the show notes below. I really invite you to give Sigmatic a try. I've got an 8-week period where I'm going to be talking about this, and I'm going to try all the protein powders and everything right through this. But I've been on this coffee for about a week, and honestly, my mood is better. Even with all this chaos going on, I feel uplifted, I feel more focused, and I'm really enjoying it, and I am a convert to Sigmatic coffee. So give it a try and see what you think. It's money back if you don't like it. Okay. That's if you like coffee. But if you don't like coffee, try their functional tea elixirs and their super powders and their blends. You can add those to anything, so you don't have to just drink coffee. But I'm a coffee addict, so there you go. Right, let's look to all signs now. So we're going to start with Cancer rising. For you, Cancer, this station particularly is going to affect your 12th house and your 7th house because of Mercury being stationing direct in there. So for you, this is areas of the 12th house is your unconscious, your connection to a transpersonal knowledge and understanding. It's also secluded spaces and a little bit to do with hidden enemies. With Mars retrograde in that house, you may have found people coming out of the woodworks that are not very nice to you. This Mars retrograde has been a bit attacking. With Mars stationing direct through that, you may develop some inner strength to deal with them, but they're also going to be in your significant relationships and your open enemies. So for you, Cancer rising, this or Cancer sun sign, but particularly Cancer rising, this could have had a lot to do with people coming out of the woodworks and really kind of going at you a little bit, all right? So if you're experiencing that, I think this Mars retrograde station forward, and when Mercury stations forward, is you're going to be able to learn to deal with this. And Cancer rising is a big softy, right? And Cancer sun, you are lovely, soft, but you've also got this resilience, but you can be easily hurt. But the 8, I think, is going to give you some strength to move forward. So Leo rising particularly. For you, this has been in the 11th house of friends, groups, causes, hopes and wishes for the future. You may have felt some little aggression coming in groups and organizations that you're involved with, and you may have been revisiting which groups. Now Mars is going to move forward and you're going to start kind of getting rid of whichever ones are not working, in my opinion. And then also the structures of your daily routines and work. So this, with this being groups and organizations, and this being daily structures and routines, and this, and but also health and pets, you could be experiencing some changes in that, and you could get the resolve with that 8-degree that number 8 being highlighted, some inner strength and resolve to really kind of not let this happen again, and to eliminate anything that has kind of come out of the woodwork during this time in those areas of your life. Oh, come on. Virgo rising, or Virgo sun sign, a little bit the moon, but mostly rising. For you, this is the 10th house, your public reputation. Have you felt like people are out to get you publicly during this Mars retrograde? Have you felt like you've had some really kind of daggers pointed at you? And you've also, your drive to achieve has probably been a little bit less driven, shall we say. And then also it's like, this is the 5th house of creative joy and self-expression and children and the structures of that. Have you felt like you've been stopped from finding any joy in your work and your life in general right now? And now is a time to start turning it around and eliminating things that don't bring you joy, and saying, okay, things have to change here, and I am going to change how I talk, how I think about these things, and I'm going to change how I am visible in the world. So Virgo, there's some, well, for all of us, there's some big changes coming with these 2 planets going direct. But for you, this is really about the nature of your career, your visibility. It could be one of your parents to a degree, but then it's also for you, about your creative self-expression and what brings you joy, your hobbies, play, romance as well to a degree. Libra rising or Libra sun. For you, the 9th house is where Mars has been retrograde and will turn direct. This is sources of expansion and inspiration, your personal beliefs. It could be experience of other cultures and travel and higher education as well, or higher learning of some point, of some kind, whether formal or informal. You may have been revisiting all those things, and you also may have kind of, if you're involved in like any religion or culture, or particular culture, you may have felt like some daggers have come at you, or you've learned some things you didn't want to know really, or you didn't know before about them, that are changing your perspective and perceptions of them. And this is also going to apply to your inner life, okay, and the structures of your home. You may say, I don't need to do that anymore. I can do all this in the home and go within and create strong boundaries. There's definite changes in both those areas of your life. So Scorpio rising. For you, Scorpio, this has Mars has been retrograde in your 8th house of intimacy, Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun. This has been in your deeply bonded relationships, but also realms of the deep psyche. You may have felt the call to go to therapy during this time, to be quite honest. You may have had some real internal kind of personal changes. You could have had some real kind of almost inner meanie voice going at you saying, I'm not good enough, I don't do this enough. Or if you're in deeply bonded relationships, it could come from the deeply bonded, the people you're in those deeply bonded relationships with. There could also have been changes in shared finances in this area of the chart, or shared resources at least. And now things are going to shift forward in that, but again, it's still going to feel out of control for quite some time for you, Scorpio rising, and Scorpio sun too, to a degree. And you know, not all the changes will have been bad, but it's just this is Mercury in Gemini. This is Gemini energy. This is change perceptions. This is changing ideas. You might have changes about how you're going to proceed moving forward. And then this Mercury is stationing direct in Gemini, which is ideas, thoughts, voice, communications. And so, you know, you're going to perhaps speak differently, come up with different ideas about how to structure your finances and structure your shared resources, or structure your inner life, your deep psyche. Okay. Sagittarius rising. Mars has been retrograde in your 7th house of significant relationships. It's also your patterns in relationships. That may have felt a little bit chaotic, like either from you or those you're in significant relationship with. You know, there could have been some chaos, some aggro, some falling out with some people you're in significant relationship. Not everybody, of course, but you know, it's just been that area has been a little bit agitated. Well, again, it's not going to clear out anytime soon, but with Mars being out of bounds, it's time to think, and going more out of bounds as he moves back over the retrograde degrees. It's time to think out of the box. How can we do this differently to resolve the differences that have come up? And then the Mercury retrograde that rules the Mars retrograde, and remember they were in aspect to each other, is saying more about creating personal boundaries and higher self-esteem and higher self-worth in your relationships, and standing up for yourself a little bit more. So Capricorn rising. So Capricorn rising, this Mars retrograde has been in the house of health. And this is for Capricorn sun a degree a bit too. Health, pets, daily routines could have been in pure chaos for a little bit. Well, now Mars is going direct, again, out of bounds. It's time to start thinking out of the box. How can I deal differently with all this? Add to this that Mercury is going direct in your 1st house of the self, who I am, what face I put to the world. For example, you may say, well, this came up because I let my guard down and I got sick because of this. So you're going to put up personal boundaries and say, no, that doesn't work for me. It's not good for my health in some way. That's just an example. So that's the 2 areas of life for you, Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun. Oh, Aquarius. Aquarius, for you, this is been in your 5th house of creative self-expression, children, joy. If you've got children, you could have had some issues with your children during this time. If not, and it could be around your own, what brings you joy. I kind of feel like this doesn't bring me joy anymore. I don't have the drive to do that hobby or that leisure pursuit anymore. It's just not fun for me. If you're into sports as well, You could have had literal sports injuries during this time that are showing you that that sport no longer works for you anymore. And now it's, as Mars moves forward, it's time to think out of the box and how can I do this differently, or what different thing can I do that is more fulfilling now from moving on. Add to that, Mercury is really in that place of being alone, sources of inspiration, sources of the divine. So Mercury station retrograde in that is saying perhaps I want to do more solitary things from now on. Perhaps maybe you were playing pickleball with a whole bunch of people and it just doesn't work anymore. You want to maybe start doing some running alone or something like that. It's time to just think differently. I think you're going to be called to spend a lot more time alone, Aquarius rising, moving forward. Move to a more solitary practice, at least for a while. Okay, Pisces rising. For you, Pisces, Mars has been retrograde in the home or the inner life, the nature of your inner life. You could have had a lot of internal kind of enemy attacks, again, saying, oh, this doesn't work. I really want to change. I don't know what I want to do. You might want to move home even, or you might want to rearrange your whole home. But it's also about your emotional inner life. And again, Mars moving forward is going to say, I want to do things very differently. How can I do things differently? How can I think outside of the box now that the Mars retrograde has shown me what's not working? And then with the Mercury station direct in aspect to the Mars and ruling that Mars, this is in groups, organizations, hopes and wishes for the future. So this adds to what I said about how can I do things differently moving forward. This isn't working. What can I do? What can I hope and plan for and wish for the future? Okay. Aries, this has been retrograde for you in the area of siblings, community, the voice as well. You may have had some fallings out with siblings or people you see as siblings, or your local community. There could have been people kind of coming out, and there could have been a few loggerheads in your community. And adding to that, Mercury is going to station direct in the area of your public visibility and things. So if you're visible in the community, there could have been a lot of contention and things. Now both moving forward, it's like, how can I think outside the box and do this differently now? How can I interact with the community differently? How can I present myself visibly to the world differently from now on? But all based on reflections from the retrogrades, of course. Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this has been about your self-esteem, your self-worth, and how you earn your money. There may have been some challenges around how you earn your money. There could have been some reversals of fortune, or you may just not have had the get up and go to go out and say, here I am. Your confidence may have been low. And whatever you've been learning from that, you're going to kind of take out and say, I've got to do things differently. This is no longer working. I don't have the drive to do it that way anymore. So let me figure out a new way to do it. And Mercury is stationing direct in your 9th house, which is kind of higher learning, higher education, travel, expansion of the mind, connection or experience of the divine religion. So you could be kind of tuning into kind of some higher philosophy or higher learning, or you may even decide to go back to school to increase something because something's just not working anymore. Okay. That was Taurus or Taurus rising. So last but not least, we go to Gemini rising. Gemini rising, this has been in your 1st house. This is your face you put on the world. This is saying, I just don't like how people are seeing me, or people are showing me that they I feel attacked. You know, Mars retrograde in the first house, I think, has probably felt you feel like others are not seeing who you really are. So you may shift things up a little bit and say, hey, you know, I'm going to show up a little bit differently now. Gemini can be a bit of a shapeshifter. Mars is more direct. So Mars moving forward in Gemini, you may kind of make decisions about who you want to kind of people to see you as in the world. Add to that, Mercury is retrograde in your most deeply bonded, shared financial resources area of the chart, deeply bonded relationships. So how people see you with a face you put out is probably been affecting your deeply bonded relationships and your shared financial resources. Well, now it's going to be time to think differently. How can I move forward differently? What have I learned during this Mars and Mercury retrograde? And how can I think outside the box to do things differently from now on? All right, everybody. So it's kind of crazy, this Mars retrograde station or Mars direct station and a Mercury direct station at the same time. Add in a bit of discord from Mars' sister Eris, who's in Mars ruled Aries. It's a very chaotic time. You may feel like all these balls are juggling in the air, and the balls have got to land, and some will roll over here and some will roll over there. You could have had a lot of technical issues, things just falling through the cracks and things. Things are going to start to feel better, but with Mars still out of bounds till May the 4th, till almost midnight on May the 4th on the East Coast. You are going to have to think outside the box in Gemini, do things differently. I like the idea of using this time to see Mars not as aggression, warrior, fight, 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 but how can I be more of a guardian and a protector? And for yourself as well and your local community, how can I step into the higher energies of Mars? How can I think differently and be more of that higher energy of Mars, which is really kind of the pioneer, the leader, the guardian, the protector, rather than being like this assertive, aggressive, like fighting with others, squabbling online, all things like that. So no matter where it is in your chart, there's an element of that. So this week though, with the 2 stations, is going to be a little bit crazy. So buckle up, keep your head down, stay out of squabbles, and enjoy the forward movement. But just know that it's going to take some time to shake out. This retrograde has been huge. So much love to you, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, give me thumbs up.